In late March 1922, a small farmstead called Hinterkaifeck stood isolated in the woods near the town of Gröben, Germany. It was home to Andreas Gruber, his wife Cecilia, their widowed daughter Victoria Gabriel, Victoria's 2 children, and a maid named Maria Baumgartner who had just arrived. Within days of Maria's arrival, all 6 people on the farm would be found dead in one of Germany's most unsettling and enduring murder cases. A few days before the killings, Andreas Gruber noticed strange things happening around the property. He found footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the house but not returning. A set of house keys disappeared. Footsteps were heard in the attic at night, but a search of the space turned up nothing. Someone had also tampered with a newspaper that no one in the family subscribed to. Despite the warning signs, the Grubers stayed. Their isolation and distrust of outsiders may have made them feel safer on their own property, even as the atmosphere grew more uneasy. On Friday, March 31, 1922, the family went about their day. The schoolteacher noticed that young Cecilia Gabriel, 7 years old, had been unusually tired in class. She seemed distracted and told friends her mother had been crying. That night, sometime after dusk, someone entered the farm. The exact sequence of events is still debated, but investigators believe that Andreas, Cecilia Sr., Victoria, and little Cecilia were drawn one by one to the barn, perhaps by noises or shouts, and killed there with a mattock, a heavy farm tool. Each victim suffered crushing blows to the head. The murderer then went inside the farmhouse and killed Joseph, the 2-year-old boy who was found in his cot. The new maid, Maria Baumgartner, was murdered in her room shortly after arriving that same afternoon. Her suitcase was still packed. When the victims were found 4 days later, the scene revealed a disturbing detail. Whoever committed the murders had stayed at the farm afterward. Neighbors reported smoke coming from the chimney. The cattle had been fed and food had been taken from the kitchen. The farm dogs had been fed as well, though one was later found injured. Someone had lived among the corpses for days. The discovery came on April 4 when neighbors went to check on the family. The Grubers hadn't been seen at church and young Cecilia had missed school. When they arrived, they found the farm unusually quiet. A search of the barn uncovered the stacked bodies of Andreas, his wife Victoria, and Cecilia under hay. The other 2 bodies were found inside. The condition of the bodies offered few clues. Andreas had deep head wounds and broken cheekbones. His wife's face was caved in. Victoria's skull was cracked, and her throat showed strangulation marks. Little Cecilia had clumps of her own hair torn out, suggesting she was alive for a short time after being struck. The maid and Joseph were both killed by blunt force trauma. Investigators arrived from Munich and began examining the property. The weapon, a mattock, was found later hidden in the attic. The killer had apparently used the family's own tools. There were no signs of robbery. Money and valuables remained untouched. The motive was unclear. Suspicion first turned to neighbors and acquaintances. Victoria's husband, Carl Gabriel, had been declared dead in World War I, but rumors spread that he had somehow survived and returned. Soldiers who knew him testified to his death, but some locals still believed he had come back in secret. Others suspected Victoria's father, Andreas, had been abusive and controlling. It was known that Victoria had a strained relationship with him and that the 2 had been convicted years earlier for incest, resulting in short prison sentences. The identity of Joseph's father was uncertain. Some believed it was Victoria's late husband, others thought it was her father. Another man, a local named Lawrence Schlittenbauer, was also rumored to be the child's father. Schlittenbauer became one of the main suspects. He had been a suitor of Victoria and had helped search the property when the bodies were found. Witnesses said he showed unusual calm during the discovery, even unlocking doors that others had to force open. When asked how he knew the locks, he claimed Victoria had given him keys. Investigators noted inconsistencies in his statements, but there was never enough evidence to charge him. Over time, many theories emerged. Some thought the murders were the work of a vagrant or robber who panicked and killed everyone, though this didn't explain why valuables were left untouched. Others believed a local person had a personal motive, revenge, jealousy, or an unresolved feud. A few suggested the killings were connected to Victoria's church activities or the rumored incest. The gruesome nature of the crime, combined with the lack of clear motive, kept investigators chasing possibilities for decades. The behavior of the killer after the murders became one of the most disturbing elements. Whoever stayed in the farmhouse fed the animals, ate food, and even cut meat from the family's supplies. Lanterns were lit at night. Some neighbors later said they saw smoke from the chimney in the days following the murders, assuming the family was home. The killer lived there comfortably while 6 bodies lay nearby. The investigation in 1922 was hampered by poor forensic methods. The police didn't secure the scene well, neighbors and onlookers trampled evidence. The bodies were even decapitated during autopsies, and the heads were sent to Munich for examination, but the skulls were lost during World War II bombings. The farm buildings were eventually demolished in 1923, but the mystery remained. Over the following decades, the case was reopened multiple times. Police interviewed dozens of people and rechecked old evidence, but every lead ended in uncertainty. Schlittenbauer remained a recurring name in the files. Some said he confessed in private, others denied it. His family maintained his innocence until his death in 1941. A separate line of inquiry focused on groups of vagrants or soldiers passing through after the war. Germany at the time was full of displaced people. A few travelers claimed to know something about the murders, but none could provide verifiable details. There was also speculation about multiple killers. The way the victims were lured separately to the barn suggested someone they trusted was involved, or that there were several attackers working together. The order of the killings implied planning and patience. Later investigators considered psychological explanations. The setting was isolated, and tension within the family could have reached a breaking point. Some argued that Andreas Gruber himself might have killed the others before being struck down, but forensic analysis contradicted that. His wounds and body position matched that of a victim, not an aggressor. One of the strangest elements was the series of unexplained events before the murders. The footprints in the snow led to the house but not back to the forest. The missing keys were never found. The sounds in the attic were reported more than once. It's possible the killer had already been hiding in the farmhouse, waiting for the right moment. In the years that followed, the Hinterkaifeck murders entered German folklore, not as legend but as an open wound in local memory. Each generation of police and journalists revisited the case, hoping new methods might bring clarity. Modern forensic experts have reviewed the files, but most of the original evidence is gone. In 2007, students at the police academy in Fürstenfeldbruck re-examined the case using contemporary profiling techniques. They concluded that the killer was likely someone close to the family, possibly familiar with the farm and the victim's routines. They ruled out random vagrants and robberies, but without physical evidence, their findings could never be proven. The Hinterkaifeck farm no longer exists. Only a small memorial stands near the site, where 6 wooden crosses bear the victims' names. Locals still visit, leaving flowers and candles. The case remains unsolved, one of the oldest and most haunting in German criminal history. The facts that endure are simple and grim. 6 people were killed with a blunt farm tool. The killer or killers stayed in the house afterward. No valuables were taken. No confession was ever confirmed. Every suspect had motives and flaws, yet none fit completely. 100 years later, the details are still studied by criminologists and historians. The lack of clear motive, the prelude of strange noises and missing keys, and the behavior after the murders make Hinterkaifeck a case that continues to defy explanation. When people speak of it now, it isn't in whispers of ghosts or legends. It's about a real family in a real place, overtaken by something that logic still can't fully explain. The murders at Hinterkaifeck remain frozen in time, unsolved, and unsettling in their silence.